And next up, Zack Sabre Jr. with his eighth entry, eighth consecutive. A key matchup for him is going to be August 3rd in Osaka against the Dragon Shingo Takagi. We know their history, lots of great matches, especially when Shingo was IWGP World Heavyweight Champion a few years ago. So, Zach, you were mentioning Chris, Zach, a heavy favorite to win this A block and win the whole tournament.
Yeah, heavy favorite to win the tournament based on the picks here. A block, I have that too, I think. Give me 1 sec. I had to go kiss the baby goodnight. A block, 39% of people think Zach is winning the A block, like winning the A block, not necessarily even just going through. And 46% think he's winning the tournament. So he's a factor. I don't know. I obviously I didn't hear what you were saying, but I have a tough time putting him at that level where he's winning a G1. And maybe that's a me thing, but is he Kenny Omega level?
Right. Well, let me put it to you this way, Chris. New Japan isn't at the level it was when Kenny Omega won the G1. So I feel like the environment has changed along with the potential of this guy being the guy. And I think it's more plausible now than it ever would have been any other time with the dearth of stars that they have and this transitional phase that they've been in. I feel like now is really the only time that they have to pull the trigger on him if they really, really want to do this. And if they don't, then we know that they don't.
Yeah, I agree. If it's going to happen, it's happening this year.
Yeah, I feel unfortunately for Zach, I think it's kind of weird timing for him because I feel like it's a time now where we need to kind of push the young guys. And I also feel like he is kind of deserve his due as well. Like I do feel like he is, also one of the top workers, top stars. He's been living in Japan. He speaks the language. I think he is a foreigner that you can get behind and elevate and push and win the G1. But we're at this kind of pivotal time in New Japan where we need the younger guys to get over. And so do you sacrifice a year of not pushing a young guy to the finals and winning to give Zack Sabre Jr. that moment and to bring Zack to the Dome? You could, but is it more important to have Shota Umino win the G1 or go into the finals? I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch with the booking. Also, another hard thing here for me, and we've talked about this on the show last couple of weeks, I still think it's weird to have the winner come out of the same block as a champion, especially with this whole knockout format, because you could potentially end up getting like 3 Zack Sabre Jr. Naito matches by the time this year is done. And then also for it to do it in Tokyo Dome, it just seems like too many rematches for a match that you're going to main event in Tokyo. I know it's a Saturday, but I still would want to have a somewhat fresh match for that main event. So that's why I'm really hesitant about saying Zach's going to win, because I don't know. I still feel like that winner is going to come from the B block.
The last time the winner came from the champions block was 2019 when they did Ibushi. When Ibushi beat Okada at the end of the tournament, and then they didn't have to do they obviously, well, and then it got muddied with the double title thing.
Double gold dash, yeah.
Yeah, which is a whole thing. And who knows what that looks like. I don't think they're going to do anything like that this year with the AEW show on the 5th, but, or the whatever, super show on the 5th.
I think a couple things to consider. Number one, if you see a match with 2 big stars, like for instance, like you just gave us, Jeremy, Zack Sabre Jr. and Naito. If you see a match like that during the block round and it plays out in a way that you wouldn't have normally anticipated it playing out, like a double DQ, a flash finish, anything like that, that might be a key indicator that these guys are going to wrestle again, either in the knockout round or post G1.
But they usually bury those on the weird kind of mid-tournament shows.
Right. Yeah.
Those are usually not, I mean, that's night 2 with Naito.
Well, I think the reason that it's more plausible is this three person block. It changes the dynamics a little bit there. The other thing too is, for instance, if you did want to do, and this goes along with what I think is happening. If I was the booker and I wanted to avoid giving away the Tokyo Dome match 3 times. I just and I want the winner to come out of A block. I just do the block match. And then these guys never touch in the knockout round at all. I work the scenario so that they're not involved with one another at all. And then the next time they wrestle is in January. And that's probably the best way to get there. And you just kind of treat Naito's knockout round as the October title defense setup. That's and I'm not saying you're wrong, Jeremy. You could be right. I mean, historically, the B block or whatever block the champion's not in is, usually the winner. But I just think personally, I think that now's the time for them to go with Zack. I also don't think it really is detrimental to the young guys, because if you're going to put one of them over and make them headline the Tokyo Dome, you got to really be sure about that. You have to know that they're a proven commodity in every facet and that you're ready to put the rocket on them and have them go. And we've talked last week about the limitations with Naito. I think whoever faces him in the Tokyo Dome is probably beating him. And I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just what I think.
I think it's really dependent on who it is, and it is a pretty wide open field.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just think that it makes sense for him to drop the belt in the Tokyo Dome, and there's no reason that in the process of trying to get over all these young guys, there's no reason you can't have a Zack Sabre Jr. act like a Terry Funk or a Stan Hansen and be that top gaijin who facilitates the transitionary period for these guys.
Sure. Naito and Zack is not the main event of night 2. The main event is Tsuji and Finlay, just so that's out there. So I guess in a way that is unfeaturing it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Maybe that's also telling us they don't see it as a main event for the Tokyo Dome, and it's just, that's the giveaway as well, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Zack's contract situation is either. So if he's got some time on his deal, I mean, you got to figure he's one of those guys that they've got earmarked as at risk. Like, we need to figure this out or know that he's gonna make the jump, right? I mean, like, it seems so obvious.
And how do you play that? Do you put the title on him potentially, or give him a G1 win or whatever it is, whatever push you deem, and then risk having him signed to Tony Khan or less likely WWE?
Yeah.
Or do you say that if we don't utilize him, we're gonna lose him?
He's gonna go. Yeah.
So it's hard to tell.
It is. It's really hard to tell. Like, and I know, and I think you guys know as well as I do, that Zack's a great fit in New Japan, and he's a great fit living in Japan and all this stuff, right? And he talked really eloquently during the Forbidden Door press conference about the freedom he has wrestling in the way that he does and the career that he's been able to have. So I don't necessarily point to Zack Sabre Jr. and say, like, this dude's definitely jumping, but it's got to be back of the mind, right? You got to consider it. And I want to be clear, like, I would love a Zack Sabre Jr. G1 win. I just know that putting a foreigner in the G1 winner slot is a really big deal, and they really need domestic stars right now too.
Right.
So, it's not like he's coming in to face a young incumbent champion and he's kind of the long-term, foreigner that's coming in as the foreign heel. Like, he would be, he's not, like, Naito's going to be the biggest star in that match, no matter who you put against him. So I don't know. Tough to say. I would love it. I think if I was booking it for my friends in the West, and honestly, probably most of the people in Japan would love it too. And I think it would make for a great main event, but he's a factor. I definitely want to see him in the final, right? I think, like, that's the other play, is like, maybe he just goes to the final and gets caught. Or maybe he wins the thing. I don't know. I mean, the people in the, mostly in the United States that are signing up for this pool, United States and Europe, are mostly picking Zack Sabre. I mean, there's a lot of Zack Sabre Jr. picks for winning the G1. So I think the booking has to honor that. Even without, they're not going to look at the pool. Well, I shouldn't say that for sure, but they're not going to change anything because of it at this point. So I'm curious.
So next up here,
one last thing I will say, he can talk as eloquently as he wants about his allegiance, but at the end of the day, he's a
How
pro
eloquent is that paycheck?
he's a Carney pro wrestler, and they can say all they want to say, but at the end of the day, they're professional liars, and you just never know.